The following is a presentation of the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner. Broadcasting from the campus of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is on the air. Your chance to hear from Liberty Women's Basketball head coach Carey Green comes your way on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Start banking with Freedom First today. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show is also brought to you by Carter Bank, Life Lived Full, Earthright Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts. By Foster Fuels, providing reliable service for 100 years. Freedom Heating and Air, serving those who serve us. Carl Miller Realty, caring, competent, trusted advisors. Lynchburg Nissan, nobody beats our prices, nobody. Sentry Exteriors, experience and quality you can trust. Schedule a free estimate at sentryexteriors.com. And by Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow.
The Hodges with 5 at the top of the arc. She dumps it inside to Smuda. Smuda scoops to the hoop and scores. Beautifully run offense by the Lady Flames.
Now let's talk Liberty Flames women's basketball. Here's your host, the voice of the Lady Flames, Jamie Hall.
Welcome into this week's Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show. We got a great program ahead for you as it is a big week for the Lady Flames. They host both Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky, and the top 3 seeds in Conference USA are still to be played for. If Liberty wins out, they would be the number 1 seed in the tournament. If it goes the opposite way, they could fall to the number 3 seed. And there's a big difference between being the 1 or the 2 or the 3, because the 3 actually has to play all their games in a row, whereas the 1 and the 2 seed would get an off day in between during the tournament. So very important games ahead. We'll talk to Coach Carey Green about that, as well as look back to last week's games, including that buzzer beater, that big win down at Kennesaw State with the Bella Smuda last-second shot. Right now, though, we've got our special guest, Claudia Acin. Is that fairly good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. And we've talked about this, you and I, in the past, and that your last name to Americans and the way you say it is sometimes tough. And we see the announcers in the different arenas. And I feel bad for the PA announcers when we come to town. Yeah. And I feel bad when UTEP comes here because if you remember UTEP's team, they've got a bunch of international players as well that have a lot of tough names. So if Liberty and UTEP play each other and there's an announcer that's not familiar with both teams, they probably have a panic attack when they look at the roster. There's some really tough names. The cool side of that is there's a lot of international players in Conference USA, and that's why there's so many tough names. And we'll talk about that in a minute because it's got to be great for you to see some familiar faces from your club teams and from your teams back in Spain around the conference. But how would you say, on average, the average American does at your last name? What's the success rate of them getting it exactly right?
I feel like everyone says like Acin instead of Acin, which is not bad, but I mean, it's fine. It's just maybe in 1 or 2 arenas they would say it like really good, and the other ones are like fine. Yeah.
You're being nice. The wrong is the word you were looking for, but I understand what you mean. You've gotten used to people saying your name incorrectly by the way you say it, so you just kind of get used to it. Well, at least they got it in the neighborhood, and Liz, I think, would say the same way. Well, that's not exactly how I would say it, but it's close enough.
It's just nice when they try. Like, I really like that. So yeah.
It's interesting because we get you guys to say your names the way you would say them, and sometimes our American brains can even hear you say them the way you're saying it, but then when it comes back out our mouths, it's not exactly the way you said it. Are there some syllables in the Spanish language that maybe, I don't want to say don't translate to English, but that are just different enough that the way your mouth works, we're not doing a very good job of saying
maybe
it?
since we've been like talking like that since we're like little, we're used to it, and maybe Americans like don't use those syllables since they're little, so maybe it's because of that. Or like the Z, like I said, like I say it one way and then an American person would read like my last name and they would say it different, so maybe it's because of that.
Yeah, I'm always interested in things like that, and because I know in Asian countries there's English syllables that aren't used in those countries, and so L's and R's are problems with some Asian countries, and so I just wondered if our mouths aren't trained to, you know, like the rolling of the R, like the Spanish rolling of the R, and to me, it's entertaining when someone who is very, very American and very, very English tries to say that, and it sounds kind of fake when they try.
A lot of my
it.
teammates have tried to like say like words with like this R, like rolling the R, and it's just funny because they can, and I'm like, just try, and I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. Yeah,
I guess it's just a matter of practice.
Yeah.
And if muscle memory, and if your muscles in your mouth aren't used to it. Well, we've gotten off track here. The start of this conversation about languages, but actually, before we get out of languages, because your English is perfectly fine. Your English is great. I mean, you have an accent, of course, but your English is top notch. How much did you study English growing up?
I've always studied English, like high school, middle school, like, but it was just more like vocabulary, and we weren't like applying it like into conversation. So when I came here, I knew like a lot of words, but maybe I wasn't used to like talking. So I feel like, this past like year and a half, I've improved that. So,
very, very much so. And if you just are going off vocabulary, because I took Spanish sort of for 2 years in high school. I say sort of because the first year the teacher quit after like 6 weeks, and then we had a substitute teacher for the rest of the school year that didn't teach us anything. And then the next year they couldn't find a Spanish teacher, so we had, I think, the assistant principal taught the class, and he taught us very little. But what we did learn was just, again, vocabulary words, but putting that together in a sentence is totally different than just knowing what the word means. And then there's slang as well.
The slang is hard,
How tough was that when you first got here?
I mean, like at the beginning, most of the like teammates and coaches even, like they thought I was really, really quiet because maybe we were in a conversation and I wasn't saying anything, but it wasn't because I'm quiet. It was maybe because I wasn't like understanding like what they were saying. So I was just like, okay, let me take a moment to understand. And then I wanted to say something, but they were talking about something else. So I was like, well,
you almost have to like put your hand up and
say, it was hard. I needed my time.
That's true, because with anything, for some people it's not language, it's math. You know, like for some people they can do math in their head really quick, and for someone else it takes them 10 or 15 seconds to do the equation in their brain. And there's no difference with language. If you're learning language, if you're not going to be as quick as the person next to you. There's so many different languages represented on this basketball team as well, and you now have a Spaniard that you can talk to. So when Ana Badoza came to town, was that refreshing to say, and I know I probably need to focus on English because that's what it's going to be 99% of the time. But was it nice to have someone you could talk to?
It was good that I came here like my first year, like me being the only one from Spain, because like that it forced me to like speak in English and learn it. But then when she came, it was so weird at the beginning because I was never talking like Spanish or Catalan here. And then she came and I was like, oh my God. So it was really fun. And it's fun talking to her.
And we talked about the fact that there's a lot of Spanish players in Conference USA.
Yes.
I know there's a couple teams that have 2, and I think I forget now. You have to remind me which team it is, but there's a team that has 4.
I think it's FIU.
FIU, that's which I guess that makes sense. There's a lot of Spanish speakers in Southern Florida, and so it's kind of a normal place, I guess, for you to think about going to if you speak Spanish. Have there been any times this year that you've heard them talking that they think they're talking just to themselves, and you're able to pick up on, oh, okay, the little strategy from the other team?
Well, there was one time, I don't know if it was in their place when we played FIU. I was guarding a Spanish player and Avery was guarding another one, and they were saying something to each other, and I kind of like looked back at Avery and she was looking at me like, they're talking Spanish. Like, and I knew what they said, and she was like, tell me what it is. So it was funny.
I guess it's hard to do those things in the heat of the moment because it's going so quickly. But if you're not used to playing against teams, well, you guys, I guess the same thing could happen to you. You could walk over to the sideline and say something to Anna that they can translate. They know what they're saying. And I guess there are a few Americans that probably can speak Spanish well enough that they would figure it out too. So Spanish might not be the perfect language to try to talk secretly.
Yeah, the cool thing is that me and Anna don't talk Spanish to each other. We talk Catalan, that it's like a language that we only talk in like certain area of Spain, so like not everyone understands us.
So that is kind of like code.
Yeah.
How okay, so in the country of Spain, everybody speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
But then there's
like,
pockets of other languages.
Yeah.
And so how big of an area speaks the language you're speaking of?
It's like kind of thinking of like kind of just a state, like the different states in the United States, just one speaks that one.
Wow. So you growing up, was that the language that your family spoke?
Like my main language is Catalan, but I also talk Spanish. Like with my grandparents, my mom's side, I talk in Spanish because they were born in another part of Spain. But like my other grandparents, my cousins, my friends, I talk in Catalan.
Do your grandparents that don't speak Catalan have a second language of their own from their state?
No, it's just Spanish.
Just Spanish.
Yeah,
okay.
But they understand Catalan because they've been living there for a long time. But
is it similar at all to Spanish?
There's some words that are similar, but I feel like a full conversation, maybe you can't understand it.
Wow. That's very interesting.
It is.
It would be kind of like if someone came to Virginia and there was Virginian, and someone in Texas would have no idea what someone in Virginia is saying to each other, but everybody would speak English. Wow, I learned something new. Now, if you told me this last year and I learned it then and I've just forgotten it since then, I apologize.
I can't remember.
I can't remember if we talked about that or not, but I think I believe I would have remembered that because that's pretty fascinating. And the fact that Anna is from a close enough area that she knows your secret language.
Yeah, it's funny when you say it like that.
So how close, I think she said that you guys never really knew of each other until you got to Liberty, but how close were you from each other?
Oh, maybe 20, 30 minutes.
So really close. So for Lynchburg comparison, it would be like if somebody lived in Bedford and to here. Are you familiar with the geography of Central Virginia? So pretty much just Lynchburg?
Yeah, I'm in Charlottesville.
Okay. So she's closer than Charlottesville.
Yeah,
so she's because that's over an hour or at least an hour. But she's a couple years older than you too. So I could see how your paths might not have crossed until you got here.
Also, she moved like really early to Mexico when she was like 13 or 12. So I was like 8 maybe, 9, 10, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know her.
Hard to remember anything from 8, 9 years old. Okay, that's another thing that is always interesting to me because I've got a memory, and I may have made this up at some point when I was a kid and I've just run with it, but I have a memory of being 3 years old and talking to someone, and it was their birthday, I think. And I remember saying, then they had just turned 3 years old. So here's two little kids talking to each other. How am I remembering this? I don't know. I may be making this whole thing up. But the memory I have is me talking to this other kid that's 3 years old and saying, wow, it's not been that long ago that we were 2 and we were just babies. That's the first memory that I pretend like, at least, that I remember. 3 years old. Now, that may have been something I made up when I was 6 years old, and then my brain just took it as truth for the rest of my life. But that's the first memory of any kind that I have. What's the first thing you remember from childhood?
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of memories from when I was like really young. Like, I don't know.
Do you remember any like events? The first Like here, if you might say, oh, the first president that I remembered was George Bush or Ronald Reagan or whoever. Do you remember like anything historically significant? Like the first thing I remember was, and remind us, what year were you born in?
2005.
2005. So, you were after 9/11 as far as...
I can't remember. I remember a lot of stuff
events.
from like school, like when I was kindergarten, like small.
Yeah.
But
Sporting events might be the things, I guess, that would stick out. Well, I mean, everybody's different. You might not have got into sports until you were a little bit older.
Well, I started when I was 6, 7, so
Okay.
that's pretty young.
So the Olympics maybe, or something like that?
I was watching always the Olympics, like diving. I was always watching that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that something you wanted to do yourself?
No. I would be so scared, but I like watching it. So, yeah.
So you like watch the thrilling sports, but not so much that you would do them yourself, like skydiving?
Yeah, I like watching it, but I would
You would never do it?
No.
What's the most adventurous thing that you do? Roller coasters or?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, you do roller coasters. How about, would you like diving? Like not like in a pool, but like in the ocean? Like
No, I'm so scared of the ocean.
Snorkeling?
No.
I'm with you.
I'm scared like of the animals in the ocean. I'm so scared.
I'm so with you. We are on team pool, not ocean, because there's just, if I go to a pool, I feel like, I mean, there's some dangers. You could drown, sure. But for the most part, you're in control of the situation. There's not going to be something come up from the bottom of the pool and bite you on the leg. But when you go in the ocean, you're going in their world. Like the animals own that world, and you're a foreigner in that world. So, okay, we're on the same page there. But do you go to the beach? Because
I go to the beach like really often, but I'm just like at the beginning. I don't go far away. I used to when I was younger. Yeah.
Did something traumatize you?
I can remember like something traumatizing me, but I was always like swimming like with my dad, like at least twice a day, like going far away and coming back. But then one day I stopped. I just stopped.
I bet something that you just
Probably,
aren't remembering must have triggered you.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to have happen when you're young. And the beach is pretty close.
Yeah, it is. I just have to drive like 25 minutes, and also like my grandma has an apartment there, so I stay there, and I just can walk like 2-minute, 3-minute walk, and I'm in the beach.
That's awesome. How far are you from like the mountains and
I would say 20 minutes, so maybe the other way. Like, yeah.
Anna was saying that it's like if you want a certain kind of weather, you don't have to drive very far. If you want to go skiing in the wintertime.
We're kind of in the middle of it. And
that's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
To be in the middle, and it's only 20 or 30 minutes in each direction. There's not many places that we can compare to that here. Okay, well, before we get off of the topic of Spain, you mentioned, and I know we talked about this a little bit last year, but remind us about your family and kind of what everybody does, and if everybody's into sports like you are.
Yeah. So my family, there's my dad and my mom. My dad is a professor in high school, and my mom works at a library, like just kind of like in a computer, like doing stuff. And then my dad used to play soccer professionally, and he tried basketball, but just like for fun. And also this sport, I told you, it's like similar to tennis, but it's not tennis. And then my mom used to play basketball, but not professionally. And then I have a younger sister. She's 16, I believe, and she plays basketball too.
Is she gonna be good competition for you?
Yeah. We always do the one-on-ones like in the summer, and we always get mad at each other. Like we never finish because we get mad.
Is it?
She usually gets mad at me.
Okay.
But yeah.
Because usually this is more like a parent-child question, because there's usually a point when the parent can always beat the child. You know, you play one-on-one, and if the child wins, it's because the parent let them win. But and some dads especially are competitive, and they're not going to let their child win. My dad was that way. He didn't want me to win, which I appreciated. Like that, I thought that was good. But then there gets to a point where either you start to get taller, or your dad gets older, and now you can beat your dad or your mom. Has it gotten to the point that your sister can beat you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think she could beat me.
But a couple years from now, is it going to be close? Is she getting
It
pretty
should be
good?
close, but
Okay.
I think I would beat her.
Okay.
Still,
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. I like that. I like that attitude. But is she willing to kind of learn from your experiences? Does she ask you advice?
Yeah, she's interested, but I don't know if she's like gonna come to the state. She's gonna stay in Spain. I don't know.
What is the goal of a kid growing up in Spain that wants to play sports of any kind, whether it be basketball or soccer or swimming or whatever it is? What's the ultimate goal?
Well, I think it's like first of all, I was playing basketball because like I was having fun. I was just thinking that. And then like getting older and stuff, I was like, okay, I want to maybe get to be like professional or at least try it. So like my decision of like coming here to the States, it was because I could play like at a higher level and like also study at the same time. Like that in Spain, it's kind of difficult. So yeah.
But professional sports is something that kids look up to, or they aspire to do.
Yeah.
Like
maybe when they get older, they start thinking about it. But yeah.
Is the Olympics really big in Spain?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're a sport that maybe doesn't have the ability to be professional, or it's not as widespread, I guess, to be professional in some of these sports, you still have that Olympic team that you would aspire to compete. Now, I'm curious about the sport that your mom played that wasn't.
Oh, my dad.
Or your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad played that wasn't tennis.
It's called paddle. I don't know. It's like kind of like racquetball and tennis mix. It's just in a court that it's covered like with glasses, and you just hit the ball with the racket.
So indoor
sport. Yeah, it is indoor. Well, it can be outdoors too. There's like both.
Okay. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. Mm-hmm. So is it about the same size as a tennis court?
I think it's smaller.
Smaller, okay. Because when you first said it, I was picturing maybe like pickleball,
it's
but
kind of like
not quite that small.
No.
Okay.
Maybe, no, a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger. Okay. Well, I'll try to find a picture and we'll put it in right now so that everybody can see what we're talking about. Okay, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the academic side of things and how that's going and what your interests are there and what the future holds once college is done. We'll be back with more after this on the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show.
What's important isn't that Freedom First has been in business since 1956. What's important is how we've been doing business since 1956. Since day one, we have been accountable to our members, not stockholders. We make loans that cost less, offer savings plans that pay more, and give back to our community, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is our ability to serve you with more locations and more technology to simplify your financial life. Freedom First. It's a place where anyone in our region can bank for good.
The President's Day sales event is happening now at Lynchburg Nissan, and the savings are monumental. Get historically low rates, up to 130% of fair KBB for your trade, and unbeatable offers on 2025 models. Plus, every new Nissan comes with our 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty, giving you peace of mind for the road ahead. Don't wait, these historic deals won't last. Stop by Lynchburg Nissan today, or visit us online to claim your savings. Lynchburg Nissan, home of the 1,000,000-mile warranty. Don't wait, these historic deals won't last.
You're listening to the Liberty Women's Basketball Show, presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Today's show will continue after this 1-minute timeout on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.
Turn up the heat. Foster Fuels is a proud partner of Liberty Athletics. Fostering warm moments for 100 years, Foster has been providing exceptional propane and gas services throughout Central Virginia and surrounding areas. From propane to fireplaces and tank installs to tankless water heaters, Foster does it all. Visit fosterfuels.com or download the app to order fuel, pay your bill, and more. Get the customer service you deserve and turn up the heat with Foster Fuels in the Liberty Flames.
Earthright Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts. With a focus on honesty, education, and excellence, they light the way to savings, home comfort, and a greener future. Educating homeowners about the power of solar and energy efficiency is their winning game plan. Give Earthright Mid-Atlantic a call today at 434-200-9716 or visit erepower.com.
Welcome back into this week's Liberty Flames women's basketball show. We're here with Claudia Acin. And Claudia, when we went to the break, we're talking about Spain, but let's jump to the United States. Come back to the United States for a moment, but then we might jump back to Spain because I want to see what the future holds. What do you want to do when your college basketball career is over? So let's start with what you're studying and what that career goal would be.
Right now I'm doing interdisciplinary studies with a focus on chemistry. So I'm doing that because after college I want to go to pharmacy school and just work as a pharmacist. So
the ultimate goal is pharmacy.
Yeah.
Would you like to play basketball beyond college before pharmacy, or is this
Yeah, I would like to.
So you finish up and you go back to Spain, or would you like to go somewhere else if you were playing basketball?
I would like to go back to Spain, but I'm also open to go like anywhere in Europe. But it would be nice, like after these 4 years, like being away from home, just getting back and being there. So yeah.
Are you pretty close with your family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have they got to visit at all?
Yeah, they came last year. My mom came. Well, they came for my official visit, like when I just got here. They all came, and then my mom came for Christmas, and then this Christmas they came again.
Okay.
So yeah.
So they get to see kind of what you're doing and where you're at, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's say you play professional basketball for 5, 10, however long you want to play. Is the pharmacy studies, do you want to be the one that's actually mixing the things that are handing them to the customer, or do you want to like work in a big corporation where you're trying to create medicines and cures and things?
I might like both. I might have to try and see what I like best, but I like both.
Well, if you come up with some great cure for some disease, remember us all.
Okay.
You know, if you make $1 billion because you created the cure for cancer, you know, don't forget about us here. Well, that's an honorable profession. I think most people, when they think of pharmacists, and they just think of, like, there's an old joke that Jerry Seinfeld used to tell, that a pharmacist just takes pills from a big bottle and puts them in a small bottle. And that was kind of the joke. Oh yeah, what does a pharmacist do? But there's a lot more to it than that, because medicines sometimes, if this person is taking this medicine and then you go to prescribe them, or the doctor prescribes them something that could contradict that or cause a reaction, you've got to be very knowledgeable, because in a way their lives are in your hands if you give them something that's going to cause a reaction to what they're already taking. Is there a little bit of, I'm sure there's a lot of study, not a little bit, a lot of studies involved in just like those drug interactions? Yeah,
I mean, I haven't started like specializing it in this, like studying in this, but I feel like there's a lot of things like I have to know before I can work as a pharmacist, so yeah.
Is there a family history of pharmacy work?
Well, no, not pharmacy. Like my dad and my aunt, they both studied chemistry, but they're professors, so.
And it sounds like you said your mom's a librarian, your dad's a professor, so it sounds like you come from a very smart, well-read family. So when you're studying, how many times do you send a text or make a phone call back and say, Dad, help me with this, I got this question?
Well, now it's hard because like there's 6-hour difference, and sometimes I'm like doing the homework like at, let's say, like 6, 7 here, and they're sleeping, so I kind of just have to do it. But sometimes I will to my dad, since like I'm studying like kind of chemistry, so.
Makes sense. You have to wait till he wakes up in the morning.
So. I'm like, can you answer it tomorrow? And then he just
because he would be getting up about the time you're asleep. So 5-hour difference? 6-hour difference. So so if he gets up at 6 in the morning, that's about midnight. So you could stay up a little bit late, but that's no, you didn't hear me say that, because Coach Green would get mad at me if I just said you can stay up. Don't stay up late.
He usually wakes up later, like 7. So.
Okay, there you go. Are you a night person or a morning person?
It depends on the time of the year. Like sometimes I would be night person, but I'm more probably like night person.
In general?
Yeah.
Basketball season probably makes it tough because some of
Yeah.
those early morning work. Do you guys still do the early morning workouts in
Not
preseason?
in preseason, yeah.
Yeah, those
Those were tough, yeah.
I feel for you guys a lot when I'm seeing Instagram posts at 7 in the morning, and I go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm still halfway through my dream at 7 in the morning. But okay, so off the court, what are some things, and outside of academics, what are some things that you do to when you have downtime and you're
I really like to hang out with my teammates, my friends, like do stuff. I don't like just sitting in my bed. Yeah. I also like watching like TV shows sometimes, or just watching sports. I really enjoy. So yeah.
Spanish shows?
I would like if it's originally in English, I would watch it in English.
Okay.
So yeah.
What are some shows, some English shows that you're watching right now?
Well, right now I'm not watching any. I'm looking for a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking for some recommendations.
Yeah.
Does it have to be something kind of new and modern, or older stuff too?
Well, I like better modern, but I could try.
Have you ever gone back and there's like the classic American shows would be like Friends and Seinfeld and some of those that go back probably 20, 25 years ago. Have you ever looked at any of those?
I've seen some episodes of Friends, not the whole thing, but some of it.
Pretty funny show.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how some of those shows, the things that they talked about back then, you go, oh, you can't talk about that anymore. Times have changed and people are more sensitive about some stuff. Spanish television, I think, okay, as an American, we probably don't have access to any true Spanish television, but we do get like Telemundo and some of the Mexican television shows. So we see Spanish-speaking television, but I feel like at least of the Mexican shows that I've flipped through, and I have no idea what they're talking about, but it just seems very, very dramatic.
Yeah, I feel like Mexicans and like South America are more dramatic than like Spanish people.
So it's not the same in Spain?
No.
So a TV show in Spain, or do you have what they call soap operas, like afternoon shows that are just drama?
Oh, yeah. That's more like South America. I feel like we have it, but from there. Like,
okay.
Yeah, we're watching the same thing, basically. Yeah.
I see. So you're watching, but you can understand it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I just watch it because it's fun for me sometimes just to watch for a few minutes. I can't watch for an hour, but just the hand gestures and you can just, they seem so intense, whatever they're talking about. And then you ask somebody to translate, like, oh no, they're just talking about what they had for lunch.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, how can you be that dramatic about what you had for lunch? But it is okay. So in Spain, are you getting, or your family right now, do they get to watch American sports? Can they watch your games?
Yeah. Well, we have a VPN like that I pay for, so they can just watch it.
Makes sense. But in general, does Spanish television have any other languages on it, or is it just okay? So
Maybe
you're not getting like
some.
British television channels or anything like that.
Like nowadays with like Netflix and like Prime and everything, it's easier.
So you can watch shows, but maybe not necessarily like NBA basketball games or.
Well, there
news.
is, they can. I think they can, like NBA, yeah. News, I don't know. But NBA, they can watch it.
I guess with YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Like you can, one of those, I think when that bridge collapsed, do you remember that from a year or so ago?
Yeah, with the boat.
The boat hit the bridge, and it happened, and I'm a night owl. It happened like late at night. And so I was looking for news about it, and the American channels weren't covering it very much. And because it was the middle of the night, I guess nobody was there. But I found a British channel that was covering it, and I was watching a London channel watching something that happened 4 hours away from me in Baltimore. But I could see it on YouTube because you can see everything on YouTube now. I mean, you can watch everything. So, which I guess is pretty cool that the world has gotten much smaller. You can see content from everywhere. Okay, so if I'm in Spain. And I know between now and then I would have to learn a lot more Spanish than I know right now. I basically know next to none. But if I learn enough that I can watch a Spanish program and understand it, what are some programs that I should watch, some shows or reality programs?
One that I liked a lot, it's Money Heist.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Tell me a little bit about it.
It's just like some thieves that they just go into like a bank.
Okay.
Yeah, they lock themselves inside and then they just take the money out. Yeah.
So it's almost like a James Bond movie, but it's a show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, that's one. Money Heist.
Yeah.
That's on my list. What's something funny? Comedy?
I don't know. Comedy? Well, there's one show that it's called La que se avecina.
Okay.
That it's just like you can just be doing stuff and just have it like as a background.
Okay.
Just like it's fun to watch. It's like really Spanish, that one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, and I'm probably a long way away from being able to. Of course, if they got subtitles, maybe.
Yeah, that would help.
All right. Okay. So, last question. I know we talked about this a little bit last year, but if I'm going to Spain, and Anna gave us some suggestions too of food that we can eat, but I'm going to take it to here. So if you're here, you're now here, and one of your teammates comes up and says, I want Spanish food tonight.
Yeah.
Can you fix me something? I'll buy it. I'll buy the ingredients. Can you fix it? What would you...
Like, if I'm here,
you're here.
It would be hard because, like, a lot of stuff that I like is just in there. But, like, I would make probably a Spanish omelet. It's like, It's different because it's with potatoes, eggs, like onion. It's really good. And then, I don't know if Anna said it, but croquetas.
No, but I asked her about those because I saw them on a menu.
Hard to oh, really? Here?
In Miami. When we were in Miami, they were on a menu, and I was like, "What?" I wasn't sure what it was. At first, I thought it might be like something I wouldn't have liked. Like,
I don't know how to explain it.
But it's like a
I can send you a picture maybe and
almost like a hot pocket, but look much better than a hot pocket. Like, and there's different things.
And it can be
meats.
like meat, like you can put fish, like mushrooms. It can be anything.
That is so funny that you bring that up, because I just asked her about that probably a week ago, because I saw that on the menu when we were down at FIU at a restaurant that Paul and I were looking into going to. I was like, I wonder what that is. I know I've heard that before. Tapas, we don't really use that phrase in America.
It's like appetizers, kind of.
More of a European type phrase, and even the English use it. But okay, all right. Now I know. We just have to find a Spanish supply grocery store.
Oh my God.
And we buy that.
I would love that.
We'll have to look at, maybe different towns. I'm not sure which town. Maybe Miami would have probably been the best town to look in. But if we find that, then we'll put you to work.
I think it's here because when I went with my family to New York, there was a place called like Little Spain, I think. And they had like a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
the big cities. That's the next time we go through a big city, we'll have to do that. Well, you guys make the NCAA tournament. Maybe they'll send you to New York or Philadelphia or back to Miami or something like that, and then we'll get some supplies and have a good time. But well, Claudia, we appreciate you coming on, and wish you the best the rest of the season.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back with Coach Carey Green right after this here on the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show.
At Carter Bank, we believe life is best lived full of opportunities and dreams, of goals achieved and promises kept. We've been creating opportunities for more people and businesses to prosper since 1974. That means great local lending, convenient access to your money, accounts and guidance that make it easier to get more done. We are Carter Bank, the preferred community bank of Liberty Flames Athletics. Visit carterbank.com to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Curious about the Central Virginia housing market? Carl Miller Realty are your caring, competent, trusted advisors for real estate sales in Central Virginia. With over 100 years of combined experience, they are committed to helping clients make informed housing decisions. For a winning game plan and to discover the value of your home, visit carlmillerrealty.com to make your next move a slam dunk.
You're listening to the Liberty Women's Basketball Show, presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Today's show will continue after this 1-minute timeout on the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.
Thompson Brooks Insurance has been serving Virginia for over 40 years, helping individuals and businesses with their insurance and investment needs. The team at Thompson Brooks is experienced in understanding life and health insurance, Medicare, and retirement planning. Thompson Brooks Insurance can be reached at 434-385-8500 or online at thompsonbrooksinsurance.com. Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow.
Century Exteriors offers exterior home renovations, including but not limited to gutters, roofing, siding, home additions, and much more. Century Exteriors makes the process seamless. Call 434-239-6722 for a free on-site estimate or visit centuryexteriors.com and Century Exteriors on Facebook and Instagram. Century Exteriors is a proud supporter of Liberty Flames Athletics.
Welcome back into this week's Liberty Flames women's basketball show. We're now joined by head coach Carey Green. Coach, welcome into the program.
Thank you, Jamie.
It has been a big week, and if you haven't followed Lady Flames basketball for the last couple of weeks, well, actually, let's go back even further than that. 6 wins in a row. But if you go back to January, 13 out of 14 wins. The most recent one, the most thrilling of them, you come off of a trip, and I know the elephant in the room is the next two games, but we'll tease everybody on that. And just we've got a couple of really big games coming up we're going to talk about in just a second. But let's go back to last week first. In both of those games, you scored 71 points, but totally different endings and stress levels and heart rate levels at the end of those basketball games. First, the game at Jack State, first win there in Jacksonville, Alabama. And certainly it looked like a comfortable win, 71-55. There were stretches of that game that it wasn't as comfortable as the final score showed. But your team was able to play a pretty solid game against the Gamecocks.
Yeah, it was a great win on the road. And as you alluded to, first win there. It is a difficult place to play. And a team that when we played them at Liberty, I think we're up 18-20, and they cut it. And may even took a 1-point lead or tied it. I know it was real close, or 1 point. So they gained a lot of confidence, and we played well and extended our lead in the third and fourth quarter there. And so we won every quarter. So it was a very good win on the road and build momentum. And then I know you're going to lead right into Kennesaw State now. That started off a pretty good start, had a 16-point lead, and closed out the end of the second quarter not too well. I think we were outscored like 8-2 and went in with a 10-point lead. And it sort of stayed like that. Came out third quarter, and in actuality, we lost third and fourth quarter by 8. So it ends up a 2-point game at the end of the game. And Bella Samuda making a big shot, attacking the rim, and made a big shot to give us the win. And it just didn't end right there, too. There was a little bit of time on the clock, and we had to do a few things on the defensive end. But 2 good road wins.
Talk us through that final play, because when Bella was on the Flames with the Flames Central guys and gals with Emily and Matt and Joe, she said, I think her phrase was she blacked out for just a second and then realized I better get going, and then she ends up working some magic and hits the shot to win the game. But how was that play drawn up?
How did the play? Was it designed? Well, we had a couple screens on the play, and Bella caught the ball, and there's supposed to be another screen or a couple more screens set with a time where we could come off them and get an open shot, open look. But there was some miscue. Actually, a couple players ran into each other. The timing was thrown off, and I'm glad that Bella just took the aggressiveness and attacked the rim and finished a shot. So it was designed for her to have the ball in her hands and then just sort of make the play off of that. And the play, we should have had several options, but it really came down to Bella taking the option she had and take it and score, and that's exactly what she did.
Now, which coach on the staff is responsible for teaching how to keep the ball on the rim until almost all the time runs out?
Yeah, it did stay up there for a while.
Yeah.
So it really came down to that clock operator, and I think he struggled the entire game. I mean, there were some shot clocks that weren't running, and some that were, and ran off, and referees blowing a whistle after the shot had already been shot and rebounded, and they call in shot clock violation. So the crew had to work and do. They needed to do a better job than what they did, but of course we need to do a better job coaching and playing as well. But spent some time. I was just wondering if it's going to fall in too, because it's sort of rolling around. But I wished it could used up 4 more tenths of seconds there.
I think, and I didn't put a stopwatch on it, but just kind of you put it in slow motion and sort of eyeball the clock as it's rolling. If she swishes it, they've got probably a second left, maybe even 1.2 seconds left. But by it tinkering around for about a second on the rim, instead of having 1.4, they've got 0.4. And there's not an awful lot that you can do in 0.4 tenths of a second. And for those that didn't see how the game ended out, Kennesaw State didn't even get a shot off after they ran the play. Maybe a little brain freeze on their side, took a dribble, and once you take a dribble, 4 tenths of a second, gone. There's no chance. You got to catch and shoot, and pretty quick catch and shoot, just basically up in the air and tip it almost. But you guys, I know you guys work on those in-game situations. And I don't want you to give away any secrets, because it could be in the championship game. You've got 4 tenths of a second to win the basketball game. But how tough is it to come up with something when you've got less than a second to make it happen?
Yeah. Well, it's not something we come up with. We got about 3 plays, so it's option 1, 2, or 3. And we've practiced them not as much as we should. We don't want to be in that situation. It's like somebody walking a tightrope. Do they practice falling? They don't practice falling. Most of our time, 99% of our time, is on game management, and that 1%, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, we work on a few of those options at the last second. And it's something you need to be prepared for. We're prepared for it with about 3 different options, but they're difficult. They're hard to make those shots in those situations.
I forget what year it was now, but I think we're 8-9 years into the quarter system and the timeouts being able to advance the basketball. Now that you've had a really good sample size, it's added certainly some excitement to the women's game, being able to take a timeout, advance the ball, because 4 tenths of a second, they'd have had no chance under the old rules. Do you like the new system?
No, I do. I just can't understand why men's basketball hasn't adopted that, or even the quarter system as well. But to each their own, I guess, and I think it's been good for women's game.
Let's jump now to the big game ahead, and I hate to say there's 2 big games ahead, but there really are, and I know you can only focus on one at a time, and there's none bigger as far as this would have been circled on the calendar for a lot of fans before the season even started. Middle Tennessee, preseason #1, defending champs, coming into Liberty Arena. That's already going to be a big game. Now, with the standings the way that they lie, and I'm going to get your thought on another rule and see what you think about this one too, because different conferences have different ways that they break ties. Some conferences use the system that Conference USA does, that if you're tied for a spot in the standings and you split with that team, it goes by how you did against the 3 seed, the 4 seed, the 5 seed, how you did against the higher ranked seed. So basically, if you beat a good team, it doesn't punish you. I mean, you're not punished by losing to a bad team as much as you are given benefit for beating a good team, if that makes sense. You could lose to Sam Houston or UTEP or somebody down towards the bottom. It doesn't hurt you nearly as much as if you get a win against Western Kentucky at the top of the standing. So if your team wins out, by benefit of that tiebreaker, you would have the number 1 seed over Middle Tennessee because they would have lost to Western Kentucky, and in that scenario, your team would have beaten Western Kentucky. Just 2 years ago in the A-Sun, they didn't use that tiebreaker. They go to net rankings, so your overall yearly NCAA RPI for the old school folks, but the net rankings determines who would win the tiebreaker. Do you like the CUSA system, or did you like, I know the CUSA system can benefit you this year. It could also hurt you too, because if you end up in a tie with Western Kentucky, they would get the tiebreaker, even though you would have a higher net ranking than them. They would get the tiebreaker because of the system. But which of the two do you like?
Well, I think that argument will go on and on and on and on and on. To answer that question directly, I prefer the one that's going to impact us most in a positive way. So I'm flip-flopping, and I think both of them have merit. Years ago, the A-Sun, we didn't benefit from the way they had certain things set up, and the power rankings, or whatever you wanted to call it, the indexes and all that, RPIs and all that. There was a year that we lost at Jacksonville State, and our rankings was higher than theirs. We'd beaten them already head-to-head, and the playoffs made us go there. And we were
divisions.
We were number 2 with Florida Gulf Coast, and I think our top 3 or 4 in our divisions was higher than their number 1, and we had to go there and lost there. So I didn't like that system at all. And not only us, they continued to do that with softball and other sports, and there were some horrific outcomes because of that. It just they adopted it, or really the director of the conference, more or less, said, we're going to do it this way. And, these are things you need to talk on the front end and just live with it as it goes on.
Yeah, the situation you were speaking of that was the 1 year that they split everything up in divisions. So if you were the number 1 seed in the West Division, you automatically got to host, even if you were 3 games behind the number 2 seed in the East Division. That was a pretty messed up system.
All on the commissioner. I'll put it where it was. It was not good, and all on the commissioner at that point in time.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you take a professional league approach, but yet it's not played the same way, because if you're in the NBA, you're playing the Western Conference, sure, and you're playing the Eastern Conference, but you don't have to beat a Western Conference team until the finals, So you're only kind of competing against your half, and they were flip-flopping, like it was transitioning at that point in the season to where the East was playing the West in the playoffs. If they'd have just kept it all West and all East, different story. So no, I'm with you on that 100%. Well, I guess at this point, the flip-flop that you were talking about is if you win the next 2 games, you're loving it because this system is going to give you the number 1 seed. So we've talked about this in the past. You control your own destiny right now. If you beat a very good Middle Tennessee team and you beat a very good Western Kentucky team, you have earned the number 1 seed.
Yeah, nothing's easy. And if it's easy, it's average at best.
Right.
That means you're in the middle of the pack. Nobody recognizes you. Not that we want to be recognized, but once again, if anything is easy, it's probably, again, average at best. So it's going to be difficult. These are challenges, and none sweeter than to have these challenges and be playing at home. So we will determine where we're going to end up going into conference play, and the facts are, the numbers are, the Paul Carmody analytics data says, you're going to finish either first, second, or third, and we're sitting in the middle right now at second place, and with 2 games against the first and third team, and so it's going to be played out. We're confident that our fans, Flames Nation, will be out there and trying to give us that extra 1, 2, 5, 10, 15 points as we go into these challenging games.
And when we talk about the seeds, and some people might not realize, but there's a pretty big difference between being the one has the best road, the 2 has a pretty good road because you would get an off day in the middle. If you're the 3, you're going to have to win 3 games in 3 days, and it makes things pretty tough on you if you fall down to the 3 spot. Last thing, I know we're a little short on time. Give us your 60-second scout of Middle Tennessee. What should fans expect? And then just maybe a tiny little preview of that game on Saturday when Western Kentucky comes to town.
Okay, Middle Tennessee is an exceptional team, well coached. Their numbers and statistics prove that. They're number 1 in the country in defensive field goal percentage, so it's going to be hard to score. They're really good at positional, cutting the floor and keeping between you and the basket. The personnel on the team, they got some good shooters and potent scorers, and really 3 pretty good defenders. I mean, exceptional defenders. And really, when you throw in the 4th one and the 5th one, the starters, and they go with 5 players or 6 or 7 deep. The 5th defensive player on the team was previously a Conference USA player, defensive player of the year at the 4 position. You have inside at the 5 position, the post player is leading the conference and rebounded and blocked shots, and she's also number 1 in the nation in blocked shots. And then all the pressure comes on the guards with 2 wings that really put a lot of pressure, and maybe the best athlete or the speediest athlete on the court is going to be their point guard. So you're looking at defense. You look at a defense that stifles people and has hurt us considerably in the second half. I mean, there's games that they could have lost, but they were solid on the defense in the 3rd and 4th quarter. So we got to play for 40 minutes, and we got to be able to put the ball in the hole and, be tough with the ball, don't turn it over, and just make some shots. We did have some pretty good shots at their place, but didn't make them. You got to make your shots.
In Western Kentucky, a different challenge, but they've got some athletes too.
Yeah, great athletes. They really have 4 really good athletes, and they play a different style. They like to press you and play man-to-man and press you and play zone. And I think that zone disrupted Middle Tennessee, and also Western playing at home is the reason they took care of that. And they got an outstanding team too. So we really played well first time at their place, and we're going to need to play well 2 games really back to back. And we're playing at home, and it's that time of year. It's March Madness, and every team needs to be bringing their A game at this point in time.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best. We look forward to seeing you here these next 2 games.
All right. Thank you, Jamie.
As head coach Carey Green, if you want tickets to come out to the arena both Thursday night and Saturday afternoon against Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky, go to libertyflames.com. It's going to be the place to be in Lynchburg, no question about it. And then after that, it's tournament time. The Flames are going to Huntsville. If you'd like to come down and watch those games, and Alabama, because it is confusing. There's a Huntsville in Texas. That's where Sam Houston's at. That's not where the tournament's going to be. Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City. You can go look at the NASA museum there, the Rocket Museum, and watch some really good basketball. The men's and women's tournaments are combined in Huntsville. And again, go to libertyflames.com. You'll find all the information you need right there. Until we talk again, this is Jamie Hall saying so long and God bless.
You've been listening to the Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Radio Show with head coach Carey Green. Today's show has been presented by Freedom First Credit Union. Start banking with Freedom First today. The Liberty Flames Women's Basketball Show has also been brought to you by Carter Bank, Life Lived Full, Earthright Mid-Atlantic, your trusted solar and energy efficiency experts, by Foster Fuels, providing reliable service for 100 years. Freedom Heating and Air, serving those who serve us. Carl Miller Realty, caring, competent, trusted advisors. Lynchburg Nissan, nobody beats our prices. Nobody. Century Exteriors, experience and quality you can trust. Schedule a free estimate at centuryexteriors.com. And by Thompson Brooks Insurance, planning today for tomorrow. Liberty Flames basketball is an exclusive presentation of the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner.